Before the war, Jewish life in Europe flourished. Families, traditions, businesses, and vibrant communities thrived across Germany, Poland, Hungary, and beyond. But within a few short years, these same people would be marked, persecuted, and murdered in one of the darkest chapters of human history, the Holocaust. Today, we'll take a journey through this horrific event, not only to understand what happened, but to remember and ensure it never happens again. The Holocaust did not begin with gas chambers. It began with words. When Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1933, he carried with him an ideology of extreme nationalism, racism, and anti-Semitism. Jews were scapegoated for Germany's economic struggles after World War I and the humiliating Treaty of Versailles. Almost immediately, Nazi policies targeted Jewish citizens. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jews of citizenship and banned marriages between Jews and non-Jews. Jewish businesses were boycotted, synagogues attacked, and children forced out of schools. On November 9, 1938, Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, marked a turning point. Jewish homes, shops, and synagogues were destroyed, and thousands of Jews were arrested and sent to concentration camps. The message was clear: Jews were no longer safe in Nazi Germany. When World War II broke out in 1939, Nazi aggression spread across Europe. With every conquest, millions of Jews fell under Hitler's control. In occupied Poland, the Nazis forced Jews into overcrowded ghettos. Warsaw, Lodz, Krakow, entire neighborhoods were sealed with walls and barbed wire. Inside, hunger, disease, and despair reigned. Families starved, cut off from the outside world. Yet, despite the suffering, many resisted, organizing underground schools, theaters, and even uprisings, clinging to dignity in the face of cruelty. In 1941, the Nazis escalated their plan. What began as discrimination became systematic extermination. Mobile killing squads, the Einsatzgruppen, followed the German army into Eastern Europe, massacring entire Jewish communities. Men, women, and children were lined up and shot into mass graves. But the Nazis wanted something faster, more efficient. Thus began the final solution: the industrialized murder of Jews in extermination camps. Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, Sobibor, Belzec, names that still echo with horror. Jews were deported in cattle cars, packed tightly, often for days without food or water. Upon arrival, families were torn apart. The elderly, the sick, and young children were often sent directly to gas chambers. Inside the chambers, victims were killed with Zyklon B gas. Their bodies were burned in crematoria, their belongings sorted and recycled by the Nazis. By 1945, 6 million Jews and millions of others, including Roma, disabled individuals, Soviet POWs, and political prisoners, had been murdered. Yet, even in the face of certain death, resistance emerged. In 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising saw Jewish fighters take up arms against the Nazis. Though hopelessly outnumbered, they fought for weeks, proving that courage can live even in despair. In camps, prisoners sabotaged Nazi efforts, revolting in places like Sobibor and Treblinka. Survival itself was an act of resistance. Hidden children, partisans in forests, families sheltered by brave non-Jews, stories of humanity flickered even in the darkest night. As Allied forces advanced in 1945, the world finally saw the horror. Soldiers liberated camps like Bergen-Belsen and Auschwitz, finding piles of corpses and survivors barely alive. For many, liberation came too late. Entire families were gone, communities erased. But those who lived carried the burden of memory. After the war, the Nuremberg trials sought justice, exposing Nazi crimes to the world. Yet justice could never match the scale of loss. The Holocaust left behind more than 6 million graves. It left a warning, a reminder of how hatred, unchecked, can consume entire nations. Today, Holocaust remembrance is not only about honoring the victims, but ensuring that future generations never repeat the mistakes of the past, because silence and indifference are the soil in which hatred grows. The Holocaust was humanity's darkest hour, but even in that darkness, stories of survival, courage, and resistance remind us that light can endure. We must remember, we must tell these stories, and we must ensure never again.